So I'm always going to look at it because there's new ways of thinking, there's new technologies, there's new information that comes, and we want to be able to adjust and iterate on that.
My name is Matt Reiner, managing partner at Capital Investment Advisor, CEO of Wellness Strategies, an author, podcast host, and also a speaker to the wealth management community. My mission is to help every family in this country have access and be served by a human financial advisor. That we all have to live in the moment and not try to force progress too quickly. Let it happen and commit to a long-term strategy in your life, in your business, and in your investment portfolio.
And now, your host and my dad, Matt Reiner.
Welcome to the FutureProof Advisor. Today, we are exploring what might be the most important shift our industry has ever faced. We're not just talking about new technologies, economic cycles, or market conditions. We're talking about a fundamental redefinition of what our clients actually need from us. And the data from our national study shows it's not what most of us are delivering or even really focusing on. Today's episode is going to, I believe, challenge a lot of what you think you know about financial freedom. It will also reveal why 71% of millionaires will still work even with $1 million in the bank. And during this episode, I want to introduce you to the 3 pillars that separate future-proof advisors from everyone else. And here's something that should keep you up at night, I believe. 57% of affluent Americans that have at least $100,000 of investable assets say that financial freedom is one of their top 3 goals. But only 12.6% of those people or of individuals across the globe define wealth as an actual dollar amount. Think about that for a moment. If financial freedom isn't about hitting a number, then what are we really helping our clients achieve? And if 65% of affluent Americans don't feel confident they'll have enough money to retire despite having robust financial plans, what does that say about the value we're actually delivering? The uncomfortable truth is this: we've been solving the wrong problem. We've spent decades perfecting portfolio optimization, tax strategies, and financial planning processes. We've become masters at managing assets. But our clients are lying awake at 3 a.m. not because their asset allocation is off by 2 percentage points. They're lying awake because they don't know if they're living the right life. This isn't about adding a feel-good conversation to your annual review. This is about recognizing that the next phase of our industry's evolution has already begun, and it's happening whether we participate or not. Our recent national study of affluent Americans reveals that 88% of affluent Americans believe helping with life purpose should be part of their advisor's role. 88%. Meanwhile, 78% of current clients say it would be, quote, really useful if their advisor could help them clarify their purpose. The demand is not coming. It's already here. The question is, are we as an industry, as a community, as an individual advisors, brave enough to meet it? Today, we'll be exploring the 3 critical insights from our latest national study titled The FutureProof Advisor, A Blueprint for Tomorrow. And this study reveals why traditional financial planning is no longer enough. We're going to first go through and examine why financial freedom has nothing to do with account balances and everything to do with something we've been afraid to address: Then we're going to go dive into the psychological research that explains why people with perfect financial plans still feel financially insecure. And finally, we'll introduce the three pillars: mindset, leverage, and purpose process that separate advisors who are preparing for the future from those who are clinging to the past or holding on to the present, hoping that things don't change. But I want to be clear about something from the start. This conversation is not theoretical. This is about survival. Because while we're debating whether purpose based advising is, quote, too soft or, quote, outside our expertise, our clients are telling us exactly what they need. And if we don't listen, someone else will. And that was one of the main drivers of sharing this national study and going on this journey of endeavoring and learning from our clients within this national study. Let me start by sharing a perspective that might make you uncomfortable. It's really irresponsible for us to think that how our business is built today will be how it's built tomorrow. Just look at our industry. 30 years ago, our industry was about stock picking for the ultra wealthy. 20 years ago, we added comprehensive financial planning. 10 years ago, we incorporated behavioral finance. Each evolution felt uncomfortable because it was change. Each one required us to develop new skills, have different conversations, and measure success differently. But here's what's different about this moment. We're not just adding another service offering. We are shifting from an industrial mentality, hard skills, analytical thinking, tactical execution, to what are actually the most human skills we possess: creativity, emotional intelligence, and genuine connection. These aren't just soft skills. They're the skills that can't be automated, commoditized, or replicated by AI charging 25 basis points for investment management. Think about it this way. We're moving from a world where our value came from knowing more about markets and tax law than our clients, to a world where our value comes from helping our clients discover what they actually want their money to accomplish in their lives. That's not a retreat from financial planning. That's financial planning finally addressing what money was always supposed to serve: a life well lived. The advisors who understand this aren't just preparing for the future, they are creating the future. For most of my career, I was trapped in what I now call the accomplishment cycle. Every business milestone brought the same pattern: a moment of euphoria, followed by this empty feeling, followed by the desperate search for the next achievement that would finally deliver lasting satisfaction. The cycle felt rational because the stakes were real. I wasn't just chasing success, I was really running from the fear that without constant achievement, I'd discover I wasn't enough. The problem wasn't that I was failing, it was that succeeding never felt like enough. And I remember hitting what should have been a career defining moment. Our firm had reached a milestone I'd been working towards for years. I should have felt incredible. Instead, I felt nothing. Within 48 hours, I was already focused on the next goal, the next mountain to climb. And that's when I realized I was experiencing something that psychologists call hedonic adaptation: our tendency to return to a baseline level of satisfaction despite positive or negative life changes. External achievements can temporarily lift us above that baseline, but they can't change the baseline itself. That requires something deeper. So I did something I'd never done before. I hired a business coach who specialized in the psychology of success, not just the tactical execution towards success. So it wasn't business strategy or tactical planning, it was the internal work that most of us avoid. through months of uncomfortable conversations and realizations, I discovered something that changed everything. I wasn't actually changing or chasing success. I was chasing freedom, but I had no idea what freedom actually meant to me. And that breakthrough came during a session where he asked me to describe my ideal Tuesday at 11 a.m. Not my ideal vacation or retirement, just a random Tuesday morning. What would I be doing? How would I be spending my time? What would that feel like? And my answer surprised even me. I wanted the freedom to be curious without judgment, freedom to explore ideas on a Tuesday morning without someone telling me I should be at my desk, freedom from the invisible rules about how successful people are supposed to spend their time and money. And it was that revelation that shifted everything. I stopped chasing accomplishments and started chasing alignment with what actually mattered to me. And here's what happened. My baseline level of satisfaction, what psychologists call our set point, actually moved higher. But here's the connection to what we do. The same search for meaning, that same struggle between external achievement and internal fulfillment is exactly what our clients are experiencing. They have the assets, they have the plans, but they don't have the clarity about what they're actually trying to accomplish. And that is our opportunity. That's our opportunity as advisors. Let's start with the data that should fundamentally change how we think about our role as advisors. 57% of affluent Americans rank financial freedom as one of their top 3 financial goals. That came from our study, the FutureProof Advisor, A Blueprint for Tomorrow. But here's what's fascinating that I learned as I did more broad research. Only 12.6% of people overall classify wealth as financial freedom. If it's not about hitting a number, then what is it? And our research shows that affluent Americans define financial freedom as having enough money that I don't worry about money. It's not a number. It's a feeling of enough that we've mistakenly tried to quantify. And here's why that matters. 65% of affluent Americans don't feel confident they'll have enough money to retire. 66% don't feel confident they can live the lifestyle they want in retirement. These are people with robust financial plans and successful portfolios who still don't feel financially free. But the most telling statistic is this. 71% of people with $1 million in investable assets would still work if they had $1 million in the bank. Even when you have the money, you can't get comfortable with the money. And this reveals something profound about human psychology. We all operate with what researchers call effective forecasting, our ability to predict how we'll feel in future situations. We consistently overestimate how much external achievements will improve our long-term satisfaction. It's the same phenomenon Olympic athletes experience. Not that I know because I'm not an Olympic athlete, it's just that I've read. I've learned from them. They work for years towards winning the gold medal, convinced it will create lasting fulfillment. Then they win. They experience a brief high, and within weeks, they find themselves dealing with what psychologists call post-Olympic depression. The accomplishment doesn't raise their baseline happiness. It just creates a temporary spike followed by an inevitable return to their set point. This is exactly what's happening with financial freedom. People think reaching a certain net worth will eliminate money anxiety. But the anxiety isn't really about the money. It's about not knowing what the money is supposed to accomplish. That's why traditional financial planning, no matter how sophisticated, can't solve the deeper problem. We are optimizing for outcomes that don't actually deliver what our clients are seeking. We're helping them climb ladders that are leaning against the wrong walls. You know, there's something happening beneath the surface that our industry hasn't really fully grasped yet. We're witnessing the emergence of what researchers call purpose anxiety as the defining challenge of our time. Studies show that 91%, yes, 91% of people experience depression and stress stemming from their inability to figure out their life's purpose. Think about that for a moment. Your clients may have their asset allocation perfectly optimized, their tax strategies beautifully coordinated, and their estate plans elegantly structured, but they're still lying awake wondering if they're living the life that they want to live or living their quote unquote right life. This isn't a peripheral issue that occasionally surfaces during annual reviews. It's the core issue that colors every financial decision that clients make. And here's what the research reveals. When people pursue money for what psychologists call self-integrated reasons, think about growth, freedom, family support, it enhances psychological well-being. But when they pursue money for non-integrated reasons, think status, overcoming self-doubt, feeling superior, it leads to what researchers call need frustration and decreases well-being. The key insight is that autonomous motivation for financial management is positively associated with financial self-efficacy and well-being, while controlled motivation is negatively associated with financial well-being. Maybe that was a little too much jargon. So in simpler terms, people struggle with financial freedom because they haven't developed autonomous, purpose-driven motivations for their financial goals. And this creates a psychological state where people simultaneously crave both financial security and meaningful direction, but they struggle to achieve either effectively. They are trapped in what I call the optimization paradox. The harder they work to optimize their finances, the less satisfied they feel. And we can all relate to those situations of talking with families about that. But here's what's fascinating. Studies show that having a strong sense of purpose improves financial decision making and reduces financial anxiety. People with clear life purposes are more likely to make autonomous financial choices aligned with their values rather than reactive decisions driven by fear or social pressure. Research confirms that perceived financial autonomy, having control over spending decisions, is positively correlated with happiness and well-being. So this suggests that financial freedom, when properly understood, is less about amount of money and more about alignment between financial resources and personal values and goals. And this is why purpose-based advising isn't a nice-to-have addition to financial planning. It's the missing foundation that makes financial planning actually work. Understanding that our clients want this kind of deeper engagement, though, is one thing. Actually delivering this type of understanding is something entirely different. Through working with hundreds of advisors who've attempted to make this transition, I've identified 3 critical pillars to really determine success or failure. And I just want to walk through these pillars as it is the framework around the FutureProof Advisor method that we talk about so frequently. Pillar 1 is mindset. This isn't just about being open to having deeper conversations with clients. It requires a complete reframing of what our value actually is as financial advisors. For decades, we've built our professional identity around being the person in the room who knows the most about markets, tax law, and financial products. Purpose-based planning or advising flips this dynamic entirely. Instead of being the expert who provides answers, you become the guide who asks better questions. And instead of demonstrating your knowledge, you demonstrate your curiosity about what matters most to your client. But here's what makes this particularly challenging. You cannot authentically guide someone through an exploration of purpose if you haven't done that work yourself. This isn't about learning conversation frameworks or questioning techniques. It's about developing the self-awareness to understand your own relationship with meaning, success, and fulfillment. Many advisors try to skip this internal work and jump straight to asking purpose questions with clients. They fail, though, because clients can sense inauthenticity immediately. They fail because they don't have the mindset of understanding of the journey to go through to get there. It's not just a quick Q&A. It's a journey, an exploration. And if you haven't done it, it's hard for you to relate to it and then go through and execute on it. Pillar 2 is all around leverage. Pillar 2 is leverage. If you've done the mindset work, reality hits when you consider your current capacity. I hear it all the time. You have 150 client relationships, and the idea of going through an intensive purpose exploration process with each of them feels impossible. I mean, this is where most advisors really give up. But traditional leverage in our industry has been about delegation, hiring people to handle tasks we don't want to do. Purpose-based advising requires what I call systematic leverage, building processes and infrastructure that allow you to deliver deep, personalized value at scale. This means identifying which parts of the purpose exploration process can be systematized without losing their impact. It means using automation, not just for routine tasks, but for creating the space and structure that allows meaningful conversations to happen more efficiently. Most importantly, it means building a team that understands not only the technical aspects of financial planning, but also the emotional and psychological dynamics of helping people discover what they want their money to achieve. Leverage is necessary to create the time to then go and create and explore the purpose process that we desire. And pillar 3 is all around innovation, but more specifically here, it's about the purpose process. Once you have the mindset and leverage aligned, you need a systematic approach to helping clients identify and align their life purpose with their financial decisions. This isn't about adding a purpose conversation to your existing process. It's about redesigning your entire client experience around the premise that financial planning without purpose exploration is incomplete planning. The most successful advisors create systems that make deep, meaningful conversations not just possible, but inevitable. They build processes that help clients move from external motivations of, I want to be wealthy, to internal motivations of, I want the freedom to pursue what matters most. The advisors who successfully integrate all 3 pillars, and you have to go in order, don't just add purpose conversations to their practice. These advisors create an entirely new category of value that AI or low-fee competitors can never replicate. When I think about it, here's what I observe when I share this research with advisors. They typically fall into one of 3 groups. The first group immediately pushes back, insisting that their clients just want good returns and low fees. They're convinced that all this talk about purpose is consultant speak that doesn't apply to their real-world practice. The second group gets excited about the idea, but then gets overwhelmed by the practical challenges. They can see why purpose-based advising makes sense, but they struggle to envision how to implement it given their current constraints. And then the third group, the smallest group, recognizes both the opportunity and the challenges, but they're willing to do the work anyways. They understand that this evolution isn't optional if they want to build sustainable, differentiated practices in the future. These are the FutureProof Advisors, and they share 3 characteristics. They've committed to doing the internal work required to understand their relationship with purpose and meaning. They've built the operational leverage necessary to have these conversations at scale. And finally, they've embraced the discomfort of innovation rather than clinging to what made them successful in the past. But here's what I find most interesting. The advisors who resist this evolution aren't wrong that it feels risky and uncertain. They're wrong about what's actually risky. The real risk isn't in changing. The real risk is in staying the same while the world evolves around us. We stand at a crossroads. One path leads us toward becoming increasingly commoditized, competing on fees, while technology automates our analytical value. The other path leads towards something that can never be automated, helping people discover and align with their deepest sense of purpose. The data shows us which path our clients want us to take. The question is whether we're brave enough to take it. The future-proof advisors, those who build this mindset, create the leverage, and develop systematic purpose processes, aren't just preparing for the future, they're creating it. Purpose isn't a retreat from financial planning. It's financial planning that finally addresses what money was always supposed to serve, a life well lived. And for those ready to make this transition, the opportunity has never been clearer. Because while everyone else is debating whether this evolution is coming, you all will already be delivering what your clients have been asking for all along, and they struggle to communicate what it is they want and need. But this study finally has shown it. If you enjoyed today's episode, forward it to a friend, like the episode, leave a comment, and be sure to subscribe to our channel to be alerted of all new episodes each week. But more importantly, go download our recently released study, The FutureProof Advisor, a Blueprint for Tomorrow. Go to mattreiner.com. The download is completely free, and we go into more detail around the research and the action steps for you and your firm to take today. I think that that's what's so important. This is research with action as opposed to just research with theory. We are showing what the research shows and what that means to you and what you can go do about it. And that makes it powerful. So go download it, mattreiner.com, The FutureProof Advisor, a Blueprint for Tomorrow. And with that, I say thank you. Go out there and be part of the change that betters our industry. Stay well, be well, keep on exploring.